だねダメよダメなのよあんたが好きで好きすぎてどれだけ強いを避けても歪まない思い出がバカみたい
Well, yeah, this looks fucking incredible. The mad lads at Capcom came out swinging. They were straight up gunning for us skeptics with precision. I've gone from cautiously optimistic to sold, and I mean sold. Here, just have my money, Capcom. I don't need it. Soon, I will have this game, and I can just fuck off to some remote location because human interactions will cease to stimulate me. Poor Silent Hill 2 Remake. I would have been excited for that if not for this being shown literally a day later. Well, that and the fact that there hasn't really been a good Silent Hill since arguably 4. And the fact that outsourcing is what hurt the franchise in the first place and that's what they're doing again. And the fact that Konami hasn't published a good game since Metal Gear Solid 5 and as a company has shown a complete lack of respect for their beloved franchises. Or have we all forgotten about Metal Gear Survive and Contra Rogue Core? Anyways, off point. This trailer has been the first time in a really long time that I've genuinely gotten hyped while watching a trailer. Now, let's get something straight right off the bat. This says nothing of how I will feel about the game as a whole. I may still buy this game and hate it, but hey, I got a whole lot of a better feeling going into it than I did before. I'm talking mostly about the gameplay trailer, by the way. Not that I haven't seen the story trailer, it looks sick, but my reservations for this game have always been about the gameplay and not the story. The original story, though enjoyable, is hardly a masterpiece. It works so much as it sets the tone and gives you context to the adventure, but that's about it. I'm all for it changing and expanding and me experiencing it firsthand when I play the game. For me, how the game plays has always been my main concern. And now that I've seen the gameplay, oh god, it's so beautiful. Okay, so enough preamble. What is it I love so much? Well, to explain that, I need to run you through my experience with the trailer and the moment that it sold me. It started slow, atmospheric, really emphasizing the horror. I watched with anticipation for the moment when that first Granado attack happens. Up to this point, I'm a little annoyed that the footage is jumpy, but really, I'm just holding out for that first encounter. Would it play like the original, or would it forego that to focus on pure survival horror? Or would it go for that dreaded middle ground of Resident Evil 8? Then that first Granado shows up. I'm a little unimpressed at this point. There's a little reaction to Leon's shots, and it's got me feeling a little bit sad. But I kind of expected this, so I kind of just rolled with it until we got into the village, where everything changed. As Leon rushes in and engages in combat, everything I fear this game was going to move away from starts to show its face. The body-specific reactions, the way Leon pushes enemies away, and then it happens. He gets a Granado with the headshot and follows it up with a glorious, and I do mean glorious, roundhouse. In that moment, every bit of skepticism died and was replaced with pure joy. My heart grew 3 times in sizes. Me and my friend who I was watching this with, who is also a massive Resident Evil 4 fan, rewinded to watch that roundhouse again. And the trailer only got better as it went on. The appearance of Mr. Salvador, the recognizable layout of the village, hopping through windows, staggering enemies, Leon using a knife on a downed enemy. Excuse me for sounding like a broken record, but the word for it really is beautiful. That roundhouse, though, is the moment that sold me for a reason. See, in my first Resident Evil 4 video, I argue a lot about my ideal remake, and my main argument was essentially that I wasn't looking for a game that outdoes the original, because that's an unfair position to put this remake in for 2 reasons: nostalgia and bias. There just may never ever be something I like as much as the original Resident Evil 4, and I've accepted that. All I ever wanted out of this remake was a game that did justice to the original that it is based off of. But because of the direction the series has gone since 7 and onward, plus my disappointment in the last 2 RE games, one of which was a remake, it made me worry that we would get something that retold the story of 4, but gameplay-wise was something completely different. Or just a watered-down middle ground between action and horror. However, that's not something I have to worry about anymore. At this point, it doesn't matter what the remake has in terms of content and story. The thing they needed for me was the core gameplay. And they have it. And on that note, I think it's brilliant that the first half of the trailer focused on slow, atmospheric stuff to lure us into a false sense of security, because it just makes that moment when that roundhouse happens all the more better. That's not proper English, and I know that. So now, I would like to go over that trailer and talk about some of the returning mechanics and new additions. Body-specific shots return, which is a staple of Resident Evil 4's combat. They seem a little less impactful here, but clearly still very effective. I would have liked to see leg shots in this trailer, but I'm sure they'll be in the game and be very effective as well. I wonder if they will let you shoot weapons out of mid-air still, or let you shoot them directly out of enemies' hands. I think that would be a nice addition as well. Either way, it's good to see. Environmental traps are also confirmed to make a return. Those were a mechanic from the original game that I enjoyed very much, and I actually enjoyed how they placed one in the barn. There wasn't one in the barn originally, and I think that's a good spot for luring enemies into. I do feel bad for the cow though. Poor cow. With just how much they seem to have already retained, I'm not worried that other traps like trip mines and bear traps won't return. If anything, I expect traps to be better hidden this time around. I also expect some new ones too. However, I couldn't even begin to speculate on what those new additions will be. I personally think it'd be nice to have some more hidden floor traps. You know, maybe you step on a tile and it causes an arrow to shoot out from a wall, or a couple more enemies to spawn in. Yeah, it's silly, but so is roundhousing parasite-infected cultists. It'd be cool to see more one-off environmental traps that are unique to specific moments and scenarios, but that's a bit more of an ask that I'm not expecting. Let's go back to that roundhouse kick though. This roundhouse makes me so much more confident that they understand and are serious about taking the foundation of the original and iterating on it. That moment-to-moment decision-making in combat that has you making intelligent choices of who to shoot and where to shoot them, making use of body shots and melee moves to control the pace of combat. That is Resident Evil 4. That is the gameplay I love, and it's making a return, not just in a surface level way either. Notice how the roundhouse knocks back more than just the enemy Leon kicks, just like the original, which on top of making me gush with nostalgia, I love it because that's one of the most useful tactics for crowd control in the original game. And shotguns knock back enemies. This all seeming familiar? Those are little things, mind you, but I think they're very important to the flow of Resident Evil 4's combat, and I'm glad that even those are being given attention to. What I do see from this footage is genuine understanding of Resident Evil 4's mechanics on more than just a surface level, and that makes me so happy. Like I've said before, and I'll say again, it's not about, and has never been about, everything from the original being the same or having to be there. I'm fine with cuts. I'm fine with changes. I just want those things to be done in the spirit of the original. And now I can confidently say that they are. On that note actually, one of my favorite additions is the knife stabbed on the downed enemy. Because knifing down enemies is a common tactic in the original, even if it's a little bit unintended by the developers. And this knife move is them acknowledging that playstyle that has been developed within the fandom, and designing something new around it. And again, it just reaffirms that they understand why Resident Evil 4 is so much fun and are dedicated to delivering that experience. Then you got other new additions to combat that look great too, like having defense items that you can use instead of QTEs to break out of grabs. From the looks of it, it doesn't do much damage. Seems to be more something you use to preserve health if anything, but it's still a great addition. There seems to be a status bar on the knife, so I imagine it being breakable and you either having to find a new knife or repair it at the merchant. While editing this video, I saw the clip with the merchant, and yeah, you repair the knife at the merchant, which I think is the better choice here. You can now move while aiming, which is to be expected, though I still think the original making you just stop and aim added something to the game. Maybe I'll talk about that another time. I'm not going to piss and moan about it here because, again, I expected this, and everything else makes me so happy that even if this was a legitimate problem, I'd overlook it. Real-time weapon switching is a welcome inclusion. One of the only flaws I think the original has is you having to enter your inventory every single time you want to equip the new weapon, especially considering how weapon switch heavy the game can get if you know what you're doing. It messed with the pacing of combat, so being able to switch on the fly will do quite a bit to make combat feel more seamless, which is a good thing. It plays to the strength of Resident Evil 4. Other than that, everything checks out the same but better looking and /or creepier. The village is the same layout, but with a few changes. The map seems tighter, probably to add to the tension, which I don't mind. It just means more choke points for me. Leon still cracks stupid jokes.
Kill me for the repairs later.
So who knows, maybe this game will still retain a sense of campiness from the original. Salvador looks wicked as fuck. Like, I thought he was terrifying in the original, but this takes him to a whole new level. Look at those eyes. Those are the eyes of pure suffering and anguish. But it could be worse for him. He could be a Garado, those eyeless fuckers. Those things are gonna be complete nightmare fuel in the remake, aren't they? Well... Fuck! So that's pretty much the crux of it. Anything I missed? Oh! Out of the depths of nowhere, moments away from gruesome annihilation, our hero Leon, using the power of friendship and pure sex appeal, looks directly in this dead man's dead eyes to flex his chainsaw and says, "Not today." I'm sure this is going to tie into knife durability. I'm sure this is the reason why we got knife durability. It doesn't matter, it's still cool. And exciting to see because it fits so naturally into Leon's already existing moveset. Plus, the ways it can be incorporated for other enemies and even bosses like Krauser is exciting to think about. This mechanic also signifies something else that makes me excited. If the ground stab shows their commitment to design the game around the playstyles of the original, this shows that they are willing to go even further and really expand on the design of combat. One last thing that dawned on me while editing this video was the first Granado attack. It never occurred to me until now that that's actually a parasite mutation. And I think it's brilliant to have parasite mutations that make them immune to Leon's bullets. At least from a reactive sense. I definitely think it's a fantastic inclusion, and it's definitely going to throw players like me off. And that's clearly the point of it, which is what makes it great. And when I say I'm sold, I mean sold. The thing I wanted, I got. And everything else from here is just a matter of semantics, personal opinions, and nitpicks. All of which would be coming from a place of complete bias anyways. To complain at this point would be silly. It got the most important thing right, and that's all this remake ever needed to do. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to comment, like, subscribe, you know, all the good stuff that helps a channel like this grow and thrive in the algorithm. If you want to check out more of my content, I have short style reviews, longer, more in-depth reviews, I make memes sometimes, and other times I give my opinions, like in this format right here. Anyways, I am Digital Shinigami. I'm gonna go play in traffic now. I'll see you all later. Bye! Ashley. Many hate her, many more just tolerate her. And then there's me, here to defend her honor and smite those who speak ill will of her name with well-constructed arguments and reasoning.